Everybody, and welcome back to Common Sense and the Devil's Advocate. As always, I am here with my dear friend and co-host Michael.
Hello.
Michael, today we have a special episode. We are going to dig into what defines family. Now, there's a very particular reason why we chose this topic today. We are joined by our first ever in-person guest. Welcome, Miss Cindy. Cindy, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We are peachy. Down here in Florida, the heat's back and I'm sweating too much. So listen, before we get too much in the discussion of this topic, we're going to do a few background stories so everybody knows where we're coming from and where the stories goes and why it's going to get very interesting and kind of intriguing. So for myself, my early childhood involved a single mother raising me because my biological father, for all intent purposes, dropped her off at the hospital and sped off. What a sweetheart of a husband, eh? Needless to say, their marriage did not last long. Actually, it was so wonderful, the Catholic Church even had it annulled, which, if you know anything, that's hard as shit to do. Now, my mother remarried some years later. We went on to have a dandy life, yada yada. I thank them for that every day. Things worked out just fine for me. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Mike? Can you give us just a brief development of your early developmental years?
Yeah, similar background, except my mom was 17 when she got pregnant with me, to a gentleman that got kicked to the curb after I was born because he'd rather had eaten his hoagie Subway sandwich than hold me while my mom made my cereal, so she kicked his ass out. But I was fortunate. I grew up in a big family. My grandmother, grandfather. I had 3 uncles, 6 aunts that were like my brothers and sisters. Then my mom remarried when I was about 10. Started dating my stepdad when I was 6. So yeah, similar reaction. Had a pretty good life. That's how we met. High school, and then my brothers were born when I was 16 and 17. Yeah, it's pretty. I can't complain. Dealing the situation we were both dealt.
I mean, the weirdest part about it, I think, was having siblings at an older age. You know, it was hard to...
Yeah.
It was definitely hard to connect with them until much into the future. You know, when you're hitting almost drinking age and they can finally hold a, real conversation, and then you're out the door. It was interesting, right? All right. So Cindy, why don't you give us a little background about your story, and then we're going to move into where the story gets really fun and saucy.
My story was I was adopted. I was adopted when I was a baby, and I was adopted into a wonderful family. My mother could not have children, and she adopted me, and she also adopted my brother, who was developmentally disabled. And I grew up in a very large family, as far as aunts and uncles and cousins, and they were great. I mean, we were welcomed. We were treated good. I had a really, really good life. And then as the years went on and I get older and older, things started going wrong. I knew that I was adopted. They told me, and I wasn't angry about it. I was happy because I was in a really good place. But then as I started to get older and started to get sick, my mother just kept telling me, you should really look for some biological background and see if there's something else you should be looking for. Maybe there's something that, you should know. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm actually a 13-year survivor. And, I never wanted to do it. Like, I had no desire. I just thought, well, there was nothing out there for me, and why do it? And eventually I decided, you know what? It was time. But I started out with this whole weird thing on ancestry, and that's where the story gets saucy.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, it is saucy, Michael. So before we go into that, because you were also adopted, Michael, I want to ask, have you ever looked into something like ancestry or whatever, 21andMe or whatever the fuck's out there?
Actually, mine was a lot easier because my bio dad didn't leave Cuyahoga Falls, where I'm from originally. So I found him at the age of 21. So I was able to meet my biological grandfather, my bio grandmother, and down on the line, which, might I add, they are also a hot biological mess on that side of the family. So yeah, I get to deal with all that fun stuff. But yeah, I did go down that rabbit hole. I started with like the coolest side, my Irish side of the family, who I was really close with growing up. And then I was going to go to the Hungarian side and then the German side, but I just kind of lost track of it over time with Dominic and everything. So, but yeah,
Okay.
I've been fortunate enough that I was able to see it face to face and then ask a lot of good questions before we can get into that story later on, where it gets, as you said, saucy,
Saucy.
spicy.
So did your Irish side ever say they're going to the bathroom and then just disappear and never come back? Give
That
a
we
good old
Some
Irish
of my
exit.
family members still do that. I have an uncle that still does that to this day. He'll get up from the table, we'll be at a cookout. He'll get up from the table, we'll be playing cards or something. We'll finish. He'll be like, "Oh, I'll be right back," and then an hour go by. What the hell happened to him?
That's
He
lovely.
must have left. His car's gone. Oh yeah, he definitely does the Irish goodbye.
Love it. So on the ancestry side, I, in a similar manner to Cindy, looked into it a few years ago. I said, hey, let's see what this is all about. If nothing else, I can find out what, my lineage is. Am I Eastern European, Italian, what, right? You hear what you think, but you don't know. So I had done one of those. So my info was out there. My DNA's been swabbed and stolen, and it's probably in a database somewhere. Not like they want to make any more of these fuckers, but
You're
it's
now a
out there.
Jason Bourne.
Yeah, I wish. I'll take Matt Damon's sexy looks and money. Come on, baby. So, but I had been out there and I noticed, I see some cousins that I knew out here. And at one time, I did see someone, this guy named Paul, who had the same biological last name that I had. I'm like, oh shit. I'd always heard a rumor that, I had a younger brother. Let me reach out to this guy. And he never responded. So my view of ancestry was like, well, I got what I'm going to get out of it. I'm not going to find any answers on that side of the family. We'll just move on. You go to the doctor, they say, what do you know about your history? You just shrug and laugh and be like, yeah, not much. I could tell you about my mom and that's it. So then one day, about a year ago, Mike, I'm sitting on the couch with my son. My phone dings. Okay. I'm like, what is this now? I'm not in the mood to deal with emails. I'm like, oh, ancestry? And it says, Cindy so-and-so sent you a message. I'm like, I think I've got a message from this chick before. What the hell does she want? So I pop this website open and I go in there and I had like 5 messages and I'd pretty much ignored all of them because I'm going to be honest, it was a name I didn't recognize. So whatever. I was like, hello. I think the first one was in like February. Then in March, you from Jersey or some shit like that. I don't know. And I'm ignoring all of these, So then a couple months goes by. And there's this message again. It says, hello. Do you know Joseph S? All right. I'm not going to give any last names out here. And I shit you not, I looked over at my son and I had all the power in my body to not be like, you ain't going to believe this fucking shit. Cause I mean, he's 10 years old. I'm not going to, I'm not going to throw that one on the kid. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. So I type back, that's my biological father. And then she types back, yeah, mine too.
No shit.
I shit you not. So then we started having these conversations on that. And, if we're fast forwarding it now, we're talking a year later, a year and a half, maybe about a year and a half. Cindy is now in my house. We've met for the first time.
Congrats.
We are, we're long lost half siblings, same sperm donor. Completely, everything else is completely, about as far as opposite as you can get. Cindy's 2 years older than me, so I finally have an older sister, and I don't have all younger siblings anymore, and I got a lot of them. So yeah, I was like, dude, it blew my fucking mind. And the weirdest thing was, like, I'm looking at my phone, kind of having this little chat, and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm like, I don't even know what to think right now. Never thought this shit would happen. I mean, like, Cindy, what was going through your mind when somebody responded? And I mean, I think my response at that point was like, wow, let's talk. And it
was crazy because 3 connections, and one connection was Paul S. The other one was Joe. And only because the Paul S had the same last name as my biological father, which was proved on the birth certificate, I reached out to him first,
valid.
which made sense. And it took me a while to connect, and I did connect. And I one of the questions I asked was, do you know of anybody else? And he said, oh, there's some guy, Joe. And I'm like, Joe C? And he says, yeah. And I'm
There's
like,
some
oh my
guy,
God.
Joe.
So I'm like, okay, great, terrific. So that's what led me to reach out to him when he did answer and actually gave me the time of day, which was great. After his, year and a half of lollygagging around my messages and not answering me because I was some strange idiot from New Jersey, apparently. Yeah, we connected and we talked and like became texting buddies for a little while and decided that the meet was time. Honestly, I couldn't believe I was getting on a plane to literally come out here and meet somebody that I was literally blood related to because he's the only person. That's it. Like there's no other blood relative anywhere. So it was probably one of the most exciting things ever. I'm happy that I did it. I'm happy that I found him. I mean, he's obviously a nutcase, but obviously related to many different forms. I'm starting to see bits and pieces of holy shit. Yeah, it's definitely related to me. But
Hold on, wait for a second. I'm going to say, Mike, that we first had this first time I had a conversation with her on the phone. I think probably 10 minutes after, in my mind, I was like, if you would have stayed in Jersey, you would have had that fucking accent. You wouldn't be able to pronounce words properly. We went
Sweater.
we went sweat. We went out today and we were looking at something. I'm not gonna deviate here because I love all my family from the Northeast. But we're down in St. Augustine looking at a pirate thing, and she's like, "Hey, look, they used to have doubloons." She goes, "What doubloons?" I'm like, "That's a fucking doubloon." She's like, "Doubloon." I'm like, "Hey, you ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean?" And she's like, "Yeah, but I'm from Jersey. This is how I'm gonna say it. So suck it
It's a
up."
fucking hero sandwich.
have you ever been to Piscataway? Do you know where Piscataway is?
No, would have been to Piscataway.
Oh, yeah, it's Piscataway, but no, it's Piscataway. I mean, it's Piscataway.
Well, anyone listening from Jersey, aren't they just going to be like, wait, what exit is that? What's the exit number? That's the only way. It's the only way I know how to get to shit. An exit number.
That's 27A.
No. So yeah, it was Mike. It was an amazing thing. It was crazy, And then we're talking, and we go deeper in this. And since Cindy had actually been doing some research, a lot deeper than me because I gave up quickly. She tells me, she's like, "Oh yeah, so by the way, you got this brother Paul." I'm like, "I know about that one." She's like, "Oh yeah, there's also a brother Henry who's younger." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And there's these two other sisters. I'm like, "You gotta be shitting me."
Damn,
the
Dad
more
got
we look,
around.
oh, he did, and we're all.
And he just dropped seeds everywhere. He was just a seed dropper. Like, when I say donated, I'm not like he donated.
Pretty sure there's a couple over in Vietnam, from maybe hey, maybe a little bit of napalm, and all you do is go around banging them out and seeing who you can find next until you go fucking psycho. So listen, we're not going to go into how fucked up our father was. It seems another member of the family's already put a podcast out there that goes into that, and I think it's pretty obvious from what you've heard here that he was an interesting man. Right. So on that note, Michael, anything you want to add in before we move on a little bit further with your.
So I was also fortunate because my bio dad was a local pin. I do have 3 half sisters, and this will interject well into the conversation because I don't speak to either one of them, none of them. And I have reasons for that, but we can touch base when we get to that round of whatever. But yeah, I did meet all 3 of them. One of them was a toddler, but yeah, 3 half sisters that I have nothing to do with, and
Yeah,
for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I told Cindy, who never ever met Joe. I met him twice that I have any recollection of. Once I was a toddler. I remember my mother holding me, and one other time, I don't know, I was either living in Miami at the time or shortly after college, and he'd gotten out of Rikers. He was a good, friendly man. Rikers Island is where all the Boy Scouts go to hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I met him, and it was a weird, interesting meeting. I was actually telling Cindy about it earlier today. I was like, I couldn't tell you what his voice sounded like. Couldn't tell you anything we talked about, and we're talking. I mean, I know this was 5 years ago or something like that. I don't know. It didn't have any real impact in my life. I think my one of my aunts was with me there, and she was like, "So, well, what did you get out of that meeting? What meeting with your father?" I'm like, "Hey, in mid-50s, he's got a full head of sexy black hair, so I just hope I get that." That was kind of, and that's,
Oh
it's
yeah.
sad, right? That's all I got out of him. But yeah, you know what? You didn't raise me, so I didn't learn anything from you. Now let's move. Let's take this next step. Let's talk about the definition of family. There's a lot of different ways that we can go family. Dom Toretto says, family is the people that you spend your time with and you care about. And if anybody knows the answer, it's fucking Vin Diesel, right? Um, but exactly. But what I want to break down, right, is a lot of people take that basis of family and they look at it in usually one of three ways, right? Family is blood. We have blood relation. We share some sort of biological bond, right? And there are people out there that is their definition of family, straight and forward. All right, so that's one. Two, family is who you're raised with, right? Cindy was adopted, raised with a mother and father and a brother. Some people would say that is your family right there. Mike, I was adopted, mother and father, two brothers and a sister. Is that my family? Same with you, right? Your mom remarried. You had a couple of brothers raised up. Is that your family? And then there's the third possible answer, right? If I were to break it into threes, and that is the people that you love, you care for, you'll do anything for. They may fit into any of those first two categories, or they also may fit into a complete third, right? So let's step through each one of these and kind of break down why you can define one or the other in comparison, right? So let's sit off and why would people only say that, that biological connection is what makes family and everything else is, you know, blood before all, I
Yeah.
can't say bros before hoes because it doesn't really go with that one, but it's,
Nah.
but blood's thicker than water. Okay. That's that old saying, right? That people like to
Right.
say. So give me your guys' thoughts on if you think that's valid and why it's a load of horseshit.
Cindy?
I I don't agree with that fully. I don't think that blood is thicker than water. I think that you can build that type of relationship with anybody. Like you don't, people that you care about, people that I mean, I was raised in a family that I had no blood relation with anybody. Nobody. Not my mother, not my father, not my brother, not my cousins. And when I tell you that I was loved just as well as I would have been with somebody who I shared blood with, to me, it's no different. I think it's just being around people that do care about you, people that do love you, people that have empathy, people that, you know, are good to others. But I don't believe in the whole it has to be blood, honestly.
I'm with you on that. Mike, thoughts?
I agree. So that's a good time to pull in the half sister thing. I have one of the three half sisters that wants to have a relationship with me simply because we are blood related. And I told her in not so many terms that that's not good enough. I saw right from the beginning that she brought too much bullshit to my life. So did the other two because of who's they were raised by. And it's a shame because it's not their fault. They just grew up different than I did. And it's sad. But at the same time, when I started developing a relationship with them, I had already married my wife, had my kid, and one of them actually tried to take ownership of my child and say, well, I'm his aunt, so I get like she had marital rights to him or something. And I said, well, slow down, cowboy. You got to get through Mama Bear first. And she didn't like that. And needless to say, that's the last time I ever spoke to her. So yeah, when it comes to if you're somebody that I care about, I trust, I know will accept me for all the flaws and good shit, and it's just it's never a strained thing. I mean, I've got people that I love in my family because they're my family and they've been there since the beginning, but I necessarily don't care to see them at a cookout. I'll be honest. But yeah, I mean, Joe, you are more family to me than most of my
You're
aunts
jumping
and
ahead.
uncles.
Sorry, you're jumping ahead. You can't do that,
Yeah.
Mike.
I
We're
know.
not blood. We're not blood.
I know. I know.
We've practically shared a bed. Practically, we have not. They've just been very close to each other. But hey, listen. First off, I want to say I got to make two small points on what you just said. One, hi Miss Ripley. I hear your lovely puppy in the background. I love her.
Yeah.
She's a sweetheart. Two, I like the fact that you said to your half sister, slow down, cowboy. You got to get through Mama Bear. And I'm assuming Mama Bear was you and not your mother or your wife.
Oh no, that was my wife.
Oh, well, I was more enjoying you as a Mama Bear because I think you're a big cuddly bear, and I think that's kind of funnier as you in a ballerina skirt and pretend to be
Well,
Mama Bear.
maybe
But
on Tuesday, Joe, I'll wear that for you.
Halloween's
Alrighty.
coming. Halloween's coming. But anyway, no, I think you're right, Mike, and that's really kind of where my feeling is, right? Cindy reached out to me, and I said, after we chatted for a while, and we're finally like, all right, here's how we're going to do it. Let's meet up. Is Cindy and she could feel the same way about me, right? If we met up and one of us thought the other one was just a worthless piece of shit, we're gonna be like, all right, I got that out of my system. I don't have to reach out to this person anymore. They're not my family. They're just, they're a blood relative, and I will move on. It's not part of it, right? Thank God it has not been that way. Cindy had a look on her face like, what's this fucker saying?
There was a connection. There was a connection from the minute we spoke. There was a connection.
But what I'm getting at is if there wasn't, and we neither one of us had that, we're like, all right, we're not.
This isn't one right.
Yeah, we're not compatible other in any manner of friendship. Then that doesn't make us family. We're now acquaintances that are attached by some lineage, and which is nothing wrong with that. But it can, again, it had the option to go either way. It didn't have to mean that just because we share the same father, that she could reach out to me 10 years from now and never again and be like, yo, I need a kidney, and think I'm gonna jump on a plane instantaneously and be like, well, 10 years ago, yeah, you left my house, spit in my face, we never talked again. That's not gonna happen. Sorry. And vice versa, though, right? It's like you were saying. I don't want to go into that side yet. So that's my point on that one. I don't think that you can say it is a definite, and that's just kind of the way it is. People are people also. And we all have, unfortunately, I've seen it in many aspects of my extended family to where very close, sometimes siblings and blood relatives want nothing to do with each other. So it's not always saying that just because, you share the same, even if it's both parents, does not necessarily mean you're sometimes family. You can be stabbed in the back by your own, was it fucking Cain and Abel, right? By your own brother. It's not a guarantee in life that your blood family are going to be the best people in the world for you. They should be, but it does not mean they're gonna be, right?
No, I'll add to that. The way I was able to easily cut them off at the mouth was simple, because with every single one of them, I felt like I had to protect my end of my life, not to let them in. And I didn't, that was not cool. If I feel like you're going to be something that's going to make my life more difficult, or somebody else that I already love and is already on the in, I got no time. I got no time.
And that's actually well said, and it's a good point because Cindy, our other half brother Paul, is not one that's, you reached out to him, you had talked to him. He's very closed off, and really, she had a very hard time trying to even get a little conversation with him, right? He never responded to me. And it could be, maybe, like you said, maybe he was burned at one point from another member of the family somewhere and just doesn't want to take that chance, right? It's like with many things. So let's not beat this one down too bad. Let's move on to the next option we talked about, right? Those that you're raised with. So all three of us have been adopted in one phase or another. Both of the parents that raised Cindy, both of them adopted her, a mother and a father. My stepfather adopted me when my parents got remarried, and the same goes for you, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know from my side of the family, and this is where I look at my father and I give him major props for being not just a good human being, but just having an open heart and never being judgmental in any manner. Because I was there. I've been there while 2 boys and a girl were conceived by him and my mother. I was there for their raising. I helped raise them because they were younger than me. I was
Oh yeah.
the almost built-in babysitter at one point. They got to a certain age, they looked up to you. Everything went there. And this man never, ever treated me any differently than he ever treated those 3 kids in the slightest. Not in anything he ever said, not in how he ever disciplined, not in how there was never, I've never played second fiddle to fuck all anything. It was everybody was always equal across the board, and the same with his parents. These were Depression era, farmers, a World War II vet, and like literally in Patton's army, a badass motherfucker, you know. And they old school, never once said. I mean, you would have never known that I wasn't, a blood relative to them from the get go, and known me my whole life, and not just starting at whatever 8 or 9. And that's an amazing thing. I've seen many times where it's not that way, right? Where there's
Oh
even
yeah.
I've never had to worry about hearing, which I have heard. That's your son. You deal with it. People do that shit. So for me, that is pure family right there. It is the people that raise you, that care for you, that teach you the lessons, and help mold you into the person that you become. I do not think that is the finite definition only, though. I don't think it's a hard line, but I don't want to get into that one just yet. I want to just talk about who you're raised with and how defined that is as compared to blood. And, in my opinion, it is not blood. It proves right there that blood's not thicker than water, that
Correct.
who raised you that's more like concrete over blood, and it ain't porous. So, I mean, did you ever notice anything different between you and your siblings?
As I grew older, there was just, I think it was time frame differences, because when I was coming up, there was things like they didn't have as much money as I was coming up, just small differences like that. I remember there being that gap of missing out on some of the cool parenting stuff that my little brothers got, but that's just geography and timeline. But as far as my dad, no, he never. Sometimes he needs some training as far as things to say, but he never outed me like that, like I wasn't his. I mean, even to this day, he calls me his first baby born boy, and I'm like 2 feet taller than him. It's kind of hilarious.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm like 2 feet. I'm 2 feet shorter than my dad. So
But yeah, but no, as far as the people I'm raised with, the household I grew up in with all my aunts and uncles, because my grandmother had 10 kids, and then I was throwing the mix, and then they had another one that was, I would have had an uncle 2 years younger than me because of where I was born. And then I'll have to say that over time, as people change, there's people I was raised with that I think I would slit a wrist for, but now I don't know if I would invite them over for a picnic.
well, yeah. As we
And,
age, things do change. That.
right, right. But just because they're blood, and I was raised with them and their blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I might need to get some therapy on this.
Probably, but you do actually you do make a good point too, right? Just because there's blood, there's being raised with. Sometimes there's still even a connection that is not always that strong, and it can go negative, right? Again, we've all seen it. You made me think of a really good question, but I want to get Cindy's take on this before I ask this question, both of you. Cindy, how old were you when you found out you were adopted?
My mother started telling me when I was probably like 3. Yeah, they didn't hide anything. As a child, you're being told, you don't really know anything. When I started to comprehend what it meant, because whenever they said it, they would explain what it meant. They would say, you do have a biological parent and they didn't give you up because they didn't love you. They gave you up for other reasons. Maybe they were too young. Maybe they couldn't take care of you. Maybe, there's always a good reason. She always gave me the positive outlook that it wasn't, but, we were special because we were chosen. And that was how my mother explained it to us. So, for me, adoption, I thought it was like this little red mini fire truck that like drove around the neighborhood with little babies in the back. And like, you just walk outside and say, I want that one, and I'm like, wow, I'm like, they chose me, and that's what I really thought it was when the whole process was, thousands of dollars and you have to go interview and you have to prove this and that you're going to love this child. And, so there was a lot more to it. You know, my brother was adopted as well and he was developmentally disabled. And my mother knew that before she adopted him, which made my mother an extremely, extremely special human being because nobody else wanted him. Nobody else wanted to deal with it. She also knew the struggles it would be on me growing up because, it was hard. It was hard with him. My mother just had this heart of gold that just taught me to have a heart of gold and taught me to accept people and things for what they were. And, I guess that's what made me who I am. And that's, I couldn't have asked for a better, teacher, better mother, better father. And I mean, it was hard. It was definitely hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing, which it's a heart of gold for someone to go and adopt a child, into their house period, just to give, somebody a chance in life. But to knowingly also adopt a special needs, you're literally saying, I know it's going to be difficult as hell to raise this baby, but I'm going to take the one that's beyond difficult as hell and I'm still going to do it. And you're talking a fraction of a percentage of people in this country that'll do that. People will argue against abortion left and right, but they won't run out there and adopt a child in need, regardless, even if it's got a, spoon of gold in its mouth already. Right.
Yeah.
To what, and to go that far, your mother's a fucking saint. So
Yeah,
kudos
that
to
she
her,
was.
which we can, if we get a minute, maybe we'll touch on at the very end. I want to touch on one story of you and your mother. Cause it's another one that blows my mind, but I'm not going to go there just yet. But again, that's a little bit different, right? So we get a little bit different view there, Mike. For us, we're kind of have that blood water mix. Some of it's there while we're being raised, and then it's, muddied waters. Whereas Cindy doesn't have that. There's no blood. It's all fresh, freshly created and, grown from the earth. But yeah, for shit, if that's not, if that ain't family in any manner whatsoever, then I don't know what the hell it is, right? Which kind of moves into the next option, right? So you've got the people that you're born with, your blood, good, bad, or indifferent. That's who you have the comparison to. You've got the people that raise you that may or may not be a biological match to you in one manner or another. And then you've got the people that you would give a kidney for, that you would take a bullet for. That if you got the call in the middle of the night, you would go to the airport before it opens, get on a plane and fly there to help that person out. In my opinion, I think that's the one that truly defines family. The first two are nice. They're good to have. You need them. Without the blood one, we wouldn't have children, right? Without someone to raise them, we'd all be degenerate fucks.
Wait.
More degenerate. Right. All right.
So,
but the key is who do you, who's your ride or die group, right? If you're going Vin Diesel here. And that's really what it comes down to. I have a lot of family that I care for deeply, but I would also jump in front of a train for Mike more than probably 90% of them. I'd push Mike in front of the train before a couple of them, but not many. Not many at all.
That's only so I could slow it down.
Because you're so big and strong, baby.
No, I was just talking size-wise. I was talking big and strong. Total mass and gravity.
But can you think of any reason why that wouldn't be your definition of family, or why you would trump someone you were either raised with or biologically related to over somebody that you would, I don't want to say give your life for, because we're going to be honest, there's only a few people that we're literally going to jump in front of a bullet for. I want to say that, again, your spouse, your children, right? But again, if we go back to the last conversation we had with our last episode, we were talking about that, I don't know, 8, 10, 12-year-old kid in one of the friggin' recent shootings that jumped on his classmate to save his life. That is family. It's not even a saint. That is your brother for fucking ever because of what he did for you. And I don't even know if they were friends. I'm assuming you're not just going to randomly jump on a kid you don't like, but maybe he did. Maybe he's just that good of a person, but I mean, is there any reason you would take, or you would actually not put that part, that over any of the others?
There are
Why?
many people in my family who, if they needed, we'll say like a massive organ that would cost me an organ that I would no longer have. If you called me at the same time, you would probably get more than likely get that organ first, Joe. To put it in more perspective, only because of and it's not just time. It's not just the geography of it. When we met, it's all the small pieces that you and I have shared. And throughout our friendship, there's never been any worry of disrespect. I mean, there's never been this awkward feeling of distrust. There's never been this challenge. It's always just been, how you been? I love you.
And it's not,
Where half of my family members, I mean, I do love you, but Joe needs my kidney.
well, it's not like, over the damn near 30 years we've been friends now, which is it's probably more, actually, a little over more, but we weren't tied to the hip for 30 years. There were years where we didn't speak just because we were at two different parts of the country, two different parts of our lives. There would be random times, but there'd be years where we weren't even within hundreds of miles of each other. But then we do get together, and it's like nothing ever changed. And I think that's the beauty of it, is it's more of a brotherly bond than anything, just because of that. I think the mutual respect, like you're talking about, is we've always had that for each other. And we've always, we're candid, which I think you should be, right, with your true friends.
Oh, yeah.
That way you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Now, I'm very intrigued by this massive organ you have that you'll give me,
Well, Cindy's here. I don't know if we can talk about that massive organ.
So, and I'm guessing, before we keep going, we love to rabbit hole this stuff, Cindy. Sorry. But I would guess.
You did go wild with your best self. You said it was getting spicy. So.
Yeah, I would assume a lot of your upbringing is very similar too, though, right? You explained that you were not grown, but raised in a large family, and it was all that extended family. If I were to tell you to write down your family, Cindy, how many of them would be the people you were raised with, and how many would just be, a larger group of friends that you would, that would be there for you if your cancer came back, or if they had the same situation, the first person they would ever think to reach to is Cindy, not their mom, possibly, one from experience, and two, just because they know you'd be there for them.
We were closest with my mother's side of the family, and my very first best friend was my cousin Jamie, and she was adopted as well. We were connected in every way, shape, and form. I mean, you could see the look in her face and mine when we sat at an Italian dinner and look around and say, wow, we don't fit in. Do we belong here? Like, if we... Like, we're the ones with a different, like, we're not like, so we had a connection, and I mean, she knows for sure, and she's watched, with all the times we spent together, she knows damn well that I give my last breath for her, and she knows that. And we've been there for each other for a very long time. And again, she's younger than me. She's my baby cousin, but, we're not with each other a lot. Not anymore anyway. She's got her life, I got my life, but we do constantly connect. We do talk very often. We do hang out, but she's definitely that person. I mean, do I have friends outside that Yeah, I do. I do have one friend, but she definitely would be that one. She was my closest member that she was there for me for everything. She knows a lot of my deepest and darkest secrets, and she knows not to let them out.
Not until you get.
I'll come
Get
back
her
on
number.
her ass, and she knows it. So, and I'm sure she'll hear this podcast, so she'll know. But yeah, you build, there's just people that you connect with. And I mean, there's a lot of the family members that, that do talk to me, but it's not the same. And it's not the same. Even with friends, like you just know what's the same and what's not. And you know who family is. And now mine's small. Lost my mother, lost my brother, and my father's the only one left. And here I am.
Well, you gained a brother, so your small family. You know what? Your small family is growing. Not only did you. I'll tell you, this is the funniest thing, Mike. And so I'm gonna diverge from that for a brief second, but it really actually goes right along lines with that. I'm waiting at the airport. What is today? Whatever. 2 days ago. Yesterday.
That he's
Yesterday. Shit. Yesterday. Out of the week. So, oh my God, that's crazy. I'm waiting at the airport, right? And I got this sign my daughter make. And I'm like, okay, I need something that's not too obnoxious, but will still jokingly stand out. And it literally says, "Are you my sister?" Right? I'm like, okay, that's good enough. So I'm standing there and I'm kind of waiting, like we're texting. She's like, "I don't know this fucking airport. Where do I go?" And I'm like, "Go to door 1 and turn left. Look for a bright green sign, And I kind of knew what Cindy looked like because we're friends on Facebook, so I have a 70% idea, right? 75%. And I'm holding this sign. I'm just looking at people. I'm like, well, there's a lady over there. It could be about her height who looks confused, but she ain't moving. So that can't be her. And she kind of looks this way, but doesn't do shit. So I'm like, all right, that can't be her, and I'm just staring at the door, waiting. And I'm like, no, no. And then I see this woman walking this way and she's got that look on her face. And I'm like, all right, hold the sign up, fucking say anything style, right? With the radio. And, and I'm like a ball of nerves. I'm like, this is either going to be the biggest debacle ever, or it's going to go, perfectly well. And I had this, because of that, earlier in that day, I'm like, I'm not going to bring anybody else with me. That way I want to make sure that, she's as comfortable as possible. Don't want to overwhelm her, and all that. And of course, then my kids are like, oh, well, why don't we get to go, and all that, and my wife's like, what are you going to, you can tell your kids, no, you can't go meet your aunt that you've never met, We're like, fuck. Okay. And then part of me was like, you know what? It makes for a great icebreaker, having the kids here. If nothing else, they'll break the tension or it'll keep it from being too uncomfortable. Dude, we get, and you've met, my daughter, we get in the car and she's like, nah, 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 vomit in the mouth talking. Oh my God. How did that? So it was like the greatest thing ever though, because Cindy's like, all right, this girl's going to talk. The little boy's quiet, but whatever, like we'll go eat. And it was just kind of like, my daughter just broke the ice perfectly for everybody. It was like, I'm like, thank God these kids came. It was just, it made it, and then we go out to eat and, that kids, it's like they have known her forever. They're just, talking about, well, it's like we haven't seen you in 10 years. We're just getting information. And it was the weirdest,
It was
funniest
the
thing.
weirdest. That was the weirdest thing.
Kids are great for that, right?
As soon as the plane landed, I had these butterflies in my stomach, like I was going to meet some, I don't know. I didn't even know what the hell. I was just sitting in the plane saying, what the frick am I doing? I'm literally in Jacksonville, going to some strange person's house. I have no idea who this guy is, and, meanwhile, I got my family back in Jersey and friends, and they're like, call us when you get there. Give us the address. Cause we don't know if this guy's going to cut you up in pieces and throw you in a basement. I'm like, he lives in Florida. He ain't got a basement. I'm like, don't worry about it. He's going to feed me to alligators. Who the hell knew what was going to happen, right? But me from Jersey and me not being as normal as I am, I agreed to just go out to Florida and stay at some stranger's house and just believe that, this, his wife and kids and this was going to be normal. Then when I, land on the plane, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What am I doing? I'm like, now I'm a nervous wreck. And I'm like, okay, I'm already here.
Who does this shit?
Texting this guy, what sick morons? It was like, I mean, listen, I'm old. No one's going to sell me to somebody, but I mean, seriously. But I'm getting off the plane and I'm texting. I'm in now I'm getting sicker and sicker. And I'm like, do I want to stop in the bathroom and just vomit before I go outside and look for this giant green sign? Or should I just hope I don't get sick in the car? What do I do? sometimes I can be too much for people. And then he's telling me his kids are with him, and I'm like, oh my God, now now kids. I'm like, I got potty mouth like from hell. I'm like, it's Sailor, and I'm like, what if I curse in
Yeah,
the
you
car?
good.
They hate me. I'm like, who the hell knows?
You
I mean,
good.
talking to him, it's like, I couldn't have gotten the impression that I could have really made a bad impression, but yeah. And then I see
What's
this
that mean?
sign. Well,
What's
I
that
see
supposed to
him.
mean?
He's standing with the sign and this dumb look on his face. Like you had to see the look on his face because he's just like, I think that's you. Like he just told me. I'm like, and then I see the sign and I'm like, okay, that's him with that green sign. And I was relieved. I was relieved with the hug hello. I was relieved when I got in the car. I mean, the kids did not look at me like I was a stranger at all. Like it was kind of crazy. They did not look at me like I was a stranger. They talked to me like they knew me, and came back into his house and, wife tugging me and like, I felt so welcome that like right now
She
there
didn't even
is
hug me,
there's no like
my wife.
I hugged you.
No, my
Your wife
wife.
didn't hug you. No, this wasn't about you.
Oh, it's always about me. It's
The past for many years was about. Now it's about me.
It's always about us.
damn right, Mike. Well, funny thing is, she's like, my husband's texting me. What if he kidnaps you? And she says this, and in my mind, I'm like, what if you come down the stairs in the middle of the night and you fucking slit my throat? I mean, Christ. It ain't always Lorena Bobbitt. Come on, it's not always a guy that's crazy. There's some.
I know he wasn't really worried about what I might do to him.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's like,
he
I know,
knows
go
like I'm
crazy.
like nutcase here. Sure, like let's all just assume that I'm the nutcase here. But
Well, you're from Jersey, so
from Jersey, I don't know how to talk. I got that strong accent. Everybody loves it. No, it's just.
I
Yeah,
love it.
this was definitely. I have no regrets about what I've done. I have no regrets about my search. I do, but this isn't one of them. Not being here in Florida, not meeting Joe. I'm glad that I did this. Feel like now it's like I'm starting over with a younger brother. Although I missed out on years of torture, but I guess now I'm just gonna have to make up for my losses.
Mike, probably about, well, let's say 12 hours in, we'll just say midday today at most. It was, yeah, like we've known each other forever. She's like, oh, you're that comfortable. You're going to be, I'm like, I can't hold back. It's just not in my nature. So
it's
I know you're
definitely
not going to
not.
hold back. So,
I'm not gonna hold back.
Bring the sauce.
right.
Did you ever see this guy hold his pen and write?
Oh, fuck. She holds it the same way, Mike. Okay. People don't know this. I'm literally signing a check yesterday for lunch. And she looks at me and she goes, is that really how you hold your pen? I'm like, yeah.
Is this still how you hold it?
She's like, yeah. She goes, me too.
I've held my pen like that all my life.
There must be some genetic thing.
I do have to
fucking
say
weird.
that when I'm writing up a lot of stuff at work, sometimes I'll switch to that. And the only reason why I switched to that is because I saw you do it. And I was like, that's how Joe writes. I'm like, that kind of gives your fingers a break from
It's actually less stress on that forefinger. I mean,
absolutely.
100%.
and
So
you
whenever
need to not have the stress on the middle finger because we need that for other things.
yeah, we got to have that. But yeah, the more you write this, but then I'll switch over to this way. I'm like, hey, that's kind of nice.
Guess what? We're not doing video. No one sees your shit.
That's okay. Well, you guys can. That's what matters.
I know. I'm fucking with you. Okay. So listen, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm not gonna keep going on here as much as I know we can, because we can just keep going with this one forever and ever. But the funny thing is, right? Some of this proves out that how small the world is, right? I was able to, me and Cindy were able to get this connection together through a website, right? And all that kind of stuff. So I want to kind of close this up with another I find it humorous, holy shit story that shows just how small this world really is. So Cindy, I'm going to ask you to tell one more story. I want you to tell the story of you and a coworker and somebody that you met through work that you don't remember meeting, like I think you said about like 20 years ago. I know you know what story I'm talking about, right? All right, Mike, are you ready, Mike?
I'm ready.
This is great. This is one of those, you gotta be shitting me. There's no fucking way stories. So listen to this. This is good.
So in the midst of figuring this all out, like, I came across, the biological mom here. And while looking this person up, I saw people that I knew that was connected with her. And I reached out to this person and said, hey, do you know so-and-so? It's like, Yeah. It's like, yeah, absolutely. You don't remember? And I'm like, how do I remember? What do I remember? It's like, you don't remember when we worked over there in North Jersey, and they came, and they came to meet me. We went out that night and you met them. And I'm like, no, that's not possible. So, it's possible. And I was like, well, can I, he's like, what are you so fixated about this person? Why are you even asking me about this person? And I said, well, because that person that you're claiming that I met is my biological mother. And yeah. And I was like, I think he almost had a heart attack on the phone. He was like, you're joking. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not joking. There was a business relationship. We really actually sat in the same room, and had no idea that that's who I was.
And she didn't
No,
know either.
no.
Holy shit.
No, and I don't know if to this day she remembers. We actually speak, not on the phone, but we do communicate. She does remember this other person. Has not brought up like the fact that she knew that that was me, but just has stressed the fact that me reaching out was probably the best thing that's ever happened to her, and she's very happy about it. But yeah, that was kind of the icing on the cake, because as small as the world is, like, here I sat in the same room with this person and no idea
Wow.
that this person was who literally brought me into this earth.
I bet if you called her up and she heard your accent, she'd be like, oh shit, I remember you. You were a pain in the ass to work with.
You said at that damn
Everybody
table
says.
giving me shit all day.
Exactly. Right?
Everybody shit all day.
I gotta go. I gotta go there. I think I'm jealous I don't have an accent. Midwest, our accents are boring.
Oh yeah, we suck.
Right?
We have. I use other accents at work just to make my life more
Careful,
interesting.
Michael. We're not offending people today.
No.
I go back.
No, it's all in good fun.
I have people that are like, where are you from? And I know people are like, oh, he's from Ohio. I'm like, whoa. I'm from
Look,
Jersey.
bitch, I'm from Detroit and Jersey.
I'm from Jersey. And they look at me, they're like, that's what you're copping to? They're like, I know Ohio is boring as shit, but motherfucker. I'm like, let me go through the list of places, but I'm like, sorry, I'm going to take it.
You were also in Michigan for a minute, weren't you?
I was. It's an interesting point. I've actually looked through it now as age has kind of come. And like for the longest point, Ohio was number one in number of years, but it's not anymore. I think Florida's about to surpass it. I've been in other states longer than I was in Ohio. So it's kind of just like a percentage at this point versus, an overarching ownership. And I'm going to end this on another really, really quick story. Just because we're talking about how small the world is, and to warn everybody out there that you never know who you might meet. It might be your mother, it might be a brother or sister you don't know you have. A week ago, I was in Dallas. Okay. I had to go there to take care of some stuff. And the last night we were there, we go into a bar. I go to the hotel bar to get a drink, before calling it a night. And there's a few people there at the bar, right? And we start just kind of yammering with people. That's the one thing I do miss about when I used to travel, is meeting, all interesting people out there. And so there's this one lady there, and this other drunk guy from, of all places, Alabama, starts giving her shit because she has a real short haircut, and we're all having fun. And she says something, right? And we're joking about, I think it was like college football teams or this and that. And she's like, yeah, my college football teams suck. I got to worry about it. And I'm like, where'd you go to school? And she goes, Kent State. I'm like, there's no fucking way. This is in Dallas, right? She's like, Kent Reed, Kent Wright, Kent State. I'm like, God damn. She graduated 2 years after me. I'm like, I could have been your damn RA for all I know, She's like,
probably were.
She's like, there's no way you went to Kent State. Where were you in RA? I'm like, Apple Hall. She goes, motherfucker. I mean, like, random, I'm like, she's like, they were a bunch of bad kids. I'm like, you have no idea. But the fact that random meeting, I mean, how? It's just crazy how, as big as this world is, we're all way more connected than we think we are. Our family's not always who we think it is. It's who we want it to be. It's who we care about. It's who we'll give a large organ to. And I mean, actually cut it out and give it, not put it in. Careful there, Michael. You
I'm all right.
bastard.
The brandy isn't that thick.
You look flushed.
It's not that thick tonight. I'm good. Just a little turned on.
I don't need any large organs. I'm good over here.
dear God, not going to go there. Not
If
going
you
to
guys
go
can
there.
keep all your large organs.
Well, listen, I hope people got a good lesson out of this, these stories. It's one of those things that I've told people this kind of story of me and Cindy over the last, I don't know, let's say 8 months. And every time I tell the story, I kind of get this look of, holy shit, I need to hear more, so when she was coming down, I'm like, Cindy, I'm sorry, we gotta do an episode on this and kind of talk about this because it's pretty fucking wild,
No.
I've told family and I've told people and they were so shocked. Now, nobody knows I'm out. Like family doesn't know yet that I'm out here.
and the other
Cindy,
beauty is, sorry, go
well,
ahead.
hold on. I'll let you know, Cindy, that Joe had to have been so nervous about this because when he was telling me about you coming out and meeting, he set it up as if you were a colleague of some kind that you met and you seem really cool and stuff because he didn't know how it was gonna go. And the
Well,
first time I found out that you were the sister was tonight, which I thought was epically awesome.
Oh,
I
so
did
you
want to
trust me.
keep it. I wanted to keep it open too. I
oh,
wanted
so
this to
you
be.
had
Well,
no idea?
Yeah,
no,
gotta keep
no,
it
no.
good.
And trust me, it's because of nerves. Trust me.
Sure, that is part of it. The best part now.
What was he gonna do? Not have a connection and fucking throw me out? Like what was he gonna do?
Afraid of me going, are you fucking nuts?
Like everybody said to me, "Are you freaking nuts? Like you getting on a plane and you're going to fucking
Well,
Florida? You
exactly.
came with some strange
Exactly.
man?"
Keep your world small.
Yeah,
know,
right. Your friends small and your enemies closer. That's all it is.
You know, had there not been a connection the way we talked for so long, because we stayed connected. Like it wasn't like we had one conversation and then just like
Right.
went our separate ways. There was a connection, and I think there was a connection on both ends. And had there not been, I wouldn't be here. Like there, you know what I'm saying? We would have just been like, okay, yeah, great. You know what? We had the same donor and we're done. Like, whatever it is, what it is. I'm sure he's a great guy. He's got a great family, but this wasn't meant to be. But obviously it was. So now he's
No,
kind of.
I honestly was expecting somebody totally off the cuff. So when you told me this is my sister, I was, yeah, it threw me. That was so fucking awesome.
Well, it
That
was.
was
I think had we chatted over ancestry.com chat and then be like, oh, let's meet up. That would have been fucking crazy. That I would have been. We would have both been like, this person's not right because nobody
Listen,
does that.
Detective for a little while. Like after the whole ancestry, then I started going through like the social media and then I started Googling. I started looking up, making sure you weren't like no accident or bullshit, making sure that your wife was real. In the world today, you don't know, so yeah, I played detective, but like I said, there was, he was so down to earth. Joe is like just so down to earth, so not fucking normal that
True.
oh yeah.
I fit in. Like there is definitely, you could tell that we're related. There's no doubt about it. Now
Normal's boring. Come on.
normal's very boring,
Right.
but yeah, no, this is great. I'm glad you were surprised. That's kind of cool. I thought you kind
It
of
was super cool.
I thought you knew.
And now I get to be that guy who's like, oh, you want to hear this story? Listen to the podcast, fuckers. Listen to it, download it.
It's in the book. It's in the book.
All right. With that note, Michael, you enjoy your weekend. I am going to spend the rest of my weekend hanging out with my new sister
Yay!
before I,
weepy.
throw her ass on a plane. And the problem now is she's going to be like, "Louis, when you coming to Jersey?" And then I'm like,
Yeah, but I live in Florida.
Dude, I came down here and I sweltered in heat for you, and I hate the heat, so this motherfucker gonna have to get on a plane and come to church.
How close do you live to a ski to any kind of ski resort?
well, we can go gambling. She's not too far from places
not
where we
too
can hit
far from
casinos, so I can live with that. But she's not too far from the Jersey Shore. We can
I'm
go
30
find.
minutes from the Jersey Shore.
We can go find Snooki.
We'll go visit Snooki, and then we'll miss a few exits and go further south to like Atlantic City or something, and that just whatever.
I might have family meet us up there if we do that because I got some gambling family members. On my prize, I know if I go up there, that means I got to meet, not just hang with Cindy. I got to go hang out with a whole bunch of other people, which I love you all out there so much.
But we can't keep it, we can't focus on one. We have to expel the love.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. Speaking of love, let's expel the love. That is, thank you. Good night. And we will talk to everybody soon on our next episode.
Good night.
Good night.
right. Thank you very much, Cindy, for joining us and bringing us a wonderful story. And thank you for being a new part of my family. And that's right. We just defined that shit. So that means it ain't just blood. We like her down here. She's all right with us.